Hey guys, what's going on? James here. In this video today, we're going to be starting a little series I'm going to be doing here leading up to the Buccaneers training camp, and that is regrading every Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason of the Jason Licht era. Jason Licht became Bucs general manager in 2014. I know, it's been a long time with Licht as the GM of the Bucs. We've had some really good highs and some really low lows. So I'm going to be talking about all of those different types of moves. I'm talking about re-signings, releases, free agency signings, draft picks, trades, all the different types of things, okay? So let's go ahead and dive right into it. I wanted to start with the Lovie Smith hiring. Yes, head coaching hires are going to be a part of this as well. And firstly, I know everybody's going to comment it. Hey, Jason Licht didn't hire Lovie Smith. That is true. For those of you who forget, Lovie Smith was hired as the head coach of this football team before Jason Licht joined on as general manager. But I wanted to regrade this move anyway. I give it a C-. Lovie Smith's tenure only lasted 2 seasons with the Bucs, was not necessarily spectacular under any circumstances, but the reason I give it a C- and not lower was because things did feel like they were starting to trend in a right direction in year number 2 under Lovie, but ultimately he didn't get that 3rd season to showcase what he could have done as a head coach going forward, but I still wanted to give that a grade, so it is a C-. Now, I want to start talking about some re-signings and releases that were made. So firstly, the Buccaneers did release offensive guard Davin Joseph during this offseason, longtime tenured guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I give this release a B, simply because of the fact that Davin Joseph's career really pretty much was done at this point. He would only play 1 more year with the LA Rams, didn't really play a lot in that final season, so ultimately, this was a fine move because it didn't have any consequences, in my opinion. However, this next release did. They would release offensive tackle Donald Penn. I give this release a D- because of the fact that Donald Penn would go on to be a multi-year high-level starter for the Raiders after his release from Tampa Bay. It just wasn't a good move. They didn't find a good replacement for Donald Penn for a long time. Trust me, we will get to that a little bit later on in this video, but they shouldn't have released Donald Penn. He was a solid, capable starting offensive tackle for them. He would go on to continue to be a starting offensive tackle in this league for many years after his Bucs release. Next is cornerback Darrelle Revis. He was released from the team as well. I give it an F grade. I know that people are going to say, well, James, Revis wasn't exactly the best with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I disagree with that, by the way. He was an all-pro, was 4th in comeback player of the year voting. I believe he was a pro bowler as well. I remember being so upset whenever Darrelle Revis was released from the Bucs, because the only thing that was cited was, well, he didn't fit the scheme. A player like Darrelle Revis can fit any scheme. You're literally talking about releasing a Hall of Fame caliber cornerback who was only 29 years old at the time, who would go on, by the way, to win a Super Bowl the very next season with the New England Patriots. He would have another Pro Bowl, All-Pro couple of seasons in his next couple of years before he would call it a career. Bad move. I was so frustrated when this move was made. I still don't agree with it under any circumstances. F for releasing Darrelle Revis. I almost said deleting Darrelle Revis. Finally, Carl Nicks was released from the team as the major release. A lot of these are going to be major moves, by the way, folks. Mike Williams was an interesting release as well, but it was completely understandable. They did trade away Jeremy Zuta. I will talk about that a little bit later on in this video as well, but going back to the Carl Nicks release, again, I give it a B because Carl Nicks' career was done at this point. The MRSA infection happened. It was what it was. And, his career was basically done as well. Very similar to Davin Joseph, but different circumstances surrounding it. So it is what it is. Now we can go ahead and get to free agency. You have quarterback Josh McCown being brought in on a 2-year, $10 million deal. I give it a C+. Look, everybody knew what Josh McCown was. He was going to be a bridge veteran quarterback, be it for their next franchise quarterback somewhere down the line. McCown did fill that role. It didn't result in phenomenal play or a lot of wins, but McCown did go out there and do a fine enough job, I suppose. Next, you have Evan Dietrich Smith being brought in on a 4-year deal with $14.25 million. I give the signing of Evan Dietrich Smith a B-. Honestly, he was a pretty solid center slash guard for the Buccaneers while he was around in Tampa Bay. I don't think he did necessarily a bad job. He was always a solid, capable veteran offensive lineman to have around. B- is fine with me. The replacement for Darrelle Revis was Alteron Werner, being brought in on a 4-year, $25.75 million deal. I give it a B-. Alteron Werner was okay while he was around. He certainly had some good moments, but also had some bad moments in there as well. I remember being excited when Alteron Werner was brought in, but didn't necessarily live up to my expectations, all things considered. A couple of bad moves in this mix now, as Michael Johnson was brought in on a 5-year, $43.75 million deal. It's an F grade, folks. Michael Johnson only lasted 1 season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was not a great look. It was not a great look. I mean, just a really bad signing for the Jason Licht era. He would literally go on to join the team that he was signed away from right after joining the Bucs. I mean, it was honestly pretty crazy. He was signed in the prime of his career at the age of 27, lasted only 1 season, and then would go right back to the Cincinnati Bengals to finish out his career for another 4 years. So just did absolutely nothing with the Bucs. It is an F grade from me. Was pretty rough. Here's a positive defensive signing, though. Clinton McDonald was brought in. Remember Clinton McDonald, brought in on a 4-year deal worth $12 million? It's a B+, man. I feel like Clinton McDonald was a very underrated defensive player for the Bucs during this early Jason Licht era. I mean, he was just an incredibly solid dude, in my opinion. He was always out there putting up some pretty reasonable stats, in my opinion. Wasn't going out there and like wowing anybody per se, but he did play 4 years in Tampa Bay, did post his best stats of his career in Tampa Bay as well, and I just have a lot of fond memories of the guy. So I do give it a B+ grade. It was an absolutely fine signing, in my opinion. We do have another F grade here, though, folks. Offensive tackle Anthony Collins, the replacement to Donald Penn, was brought in on a 5-year, $30 million deal. F. I mean, for failure, for freaking goodness sakes. This was a terrible move that was made. Anthony Collins would only last 1 season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he was out of the league after that season. Keep in mind, he was only 29 years old, so he could have still played a few years in the league, but did not happen. He played 6 years in Cincinnati before joining the Bucs, so definitely some big swings and misses from Jason Licht in terms of signing Bengals, with Anthony Collins coming in, F grade, and with Michael Johnson coming in, another F grade as well. A couple of small signings, though. Major Wright was brought in. He actually got a B grade from me, a 1-year, $795,000 deal. Major Wright lasted longer on the Bucs than I think a lot of people remember. Possibly, and I mean, come on, the guy's got like the best name in the league with Major Wright. He did last 3 seasons in Tampa Bay, which is pretty notable. He wasn't exactly a star player, but he was a solid fringe starter in a lot of situations. I give it a B grade just because, hey, it was decent value. And then finally, Jacquez Smith was brought in off of waivers. Anybody remember Jacquez Smith? This guy was brought in September. That is important to note as well. But I remember there was one point where this guy was leading the NFL in sacks at one point, which is pretty darn impressive, right? So I actually give that Jacquez Smith signing a B grade as well. Wish they would have kept him around a little bit longer, but they did move on from him eventually. He would play a couple more years in the league before officially being done, but overall was still a fine guy. Now we can go ahead and get into the draft picks that were made by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in round number 1. Pick number 7, you had Mike Evans coming in. I give this an A+, guys. I mean, absolutely phenomenal pick by Jason Licht. He's a Hall of Famer, the best draft pick ever of Jason Licht's tenure as a general manager. No complaints from me. Next, in round number 2 at pick number 38, you had Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I give it a C. I give it a C grade because, look, he was okay for what he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the reason I don't put it higher is because he wasn't around for a super duper long time. Certainly, probably didn't play to the pedigree of a second round draft pick, especially, you know, a guy who you expected to go out there and have a immediate impact at the tight end position, just never really materialized with ASJ, and it is very unfortunate. In round number 3, pick number 69, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected Charles Sims. I give it a B, man. Charles Sims was actually a pretty solid player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember, he was a guy who, you know, really was a 1-2 combination with Doug Martin around this time, which was a very serviceable, very, very good combination, all things considered. I was very happy with that. I give it a B grade. He was very good as a runner and as a receiving back as well. The Bucs would make 2 fifth-round picks. Firstly, at pick number 143 in round number 5, you had Kadeem Edwards coming in. C-. I mean, it is what it is. You know, with these late round grades, I'm not going to exactly, you know, pressure these guys too much. So I give it a C- because it's like, hey, it's a 5th round pick. You take a flyer on a guy, whatever. Kevin Panfield comes in now. I actually give it a C+ because Kevin Panfield actually lasted a couple of years with Tampa Bay. He was pick number 149, was a decent backup offensive lineman for the Bucs for a couple of years. Did not mind that at all. Finally, in round number 6, pick number 185, we have Robert Herron. Again, it's going to be a C- from me. He didn't play a lot, but again, it's a waiver thing. You know, you're taking a shot at a guy. It is what it is. You know, I'm not going to knock it too hard. However, there is an undrafted free agent worth talking about. Cameron Brate was signed to the team in the offseason. It's an A+ undrafted free agent signing for me. Cameron Brate would go on to be one of the more influential offensive players during this era of Tampa Bay Buccaneers history. He did end up winning a Super Bowl with the Bucs as well, which is just awesome, by the way. So yeah, that's an A+ undrafted free agent move for me. We do have a couple of trades to talk about. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers would get Logan Mankins this offseason for Tim Wright. Remember Tim Wright? A 2015 4th round pick. That was pick number 101, which would be Trey Flowers. It was an A- trade in my opinion. I think that Logan Mankins really provided some solid guard stability for the Bucs in the final couple years of his career. Jason Light did have that connection to New England at the time, and he utilized it by getting a very quality starting guard as they had moved on from Davin Joseph and Carl Nick. So you see the game plan there, right, in bringing in a guy like Logan Mankins. It was chill. Then you did trade away Jeremy Zuta for a 5th round pick to the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I give that trade like a D. I mean, it was a bad trade in my opinion. I was a big fan of Jeremy Zuta. He was a capable starting offensive center in this league, and you traded him away for basically peanuts. I just didn't love the trade at the time. I still don't love it looking back on it. They probably should have just kept Jeremy Zuta as the starting center. He would go on, actually, to continue to be a piece for the Baltimore Ravens for a few years and actually continue to be in the league for a few more years as well. A couple more years, I guess I should say. He did have a Pro Bowl season in the final year of his career, so he still had some good play left under his belt. Tampa should have probably kept him around, especially after you had already had him for 6 more years. He was in the prime of his career. Should have kept him around, man. So that's it, guys. That's it for my grades of Jason Light's first offseason as a general manager. What do you guys think about some of my grades? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Next video, we're going to be going over 2015, where there was a lot of stuff going on in that offseason as well. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. It's going to be a handful of videos coming out soon. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.